We are live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another interesting talk on the Destination Heritage Forum. Interestingly, 2 years back, we curated a program wherein we integrated heritage into the main curriculum. It was the art of storytelling for 45 hours and 3 credit. This was very well accepted by the students who found this a very new concept, and then they added their own understanding with the modern day techniques, and it was a great success. So they were also able to connect with their friends because it was from all over the undergrad students who came over. So they were able to connect with one another, they were able to connect within themselves, they connected with their parents and grandparents, asking them if there is a variation of some of the stories that the resource person had told. So that way we felt very happy that there are takers. If presented properly, heritage can be integrated into the mainstream. And also, we have the Panchatantra, which has been translated into 50 languages, and there are 200 versions of it, right from influencing the stories from Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Europe. No wonder we are great storytellers, and we have to go back to this art of storytelling, which is nothing but communication. It's only when we communicate that we sell ourselves, that we become good marketing personnels. This age old tradition of storytelling, it goes back to hoary times. We don't know, oral traditions, as always, folk and tribal origins are as old as human beings, maybe, because we want some entertainment and we want to give vent to our creativity. So this art of storytelling connects us to our roots emotionally, psychologically, and also culturally, and thereby able to understand ourselves. There is a child in every one of us who not only likes to hear but enact dramatically and theatrically, like professional storytellers like Lavanya Prasad do. Stories thus are a mirror to society, and we are the stories we believe and consume. It is during the months of mid July and August that the chariot festival festivities come to an end with the singing of the bow song, the Villupatu. And Lavanya Prasad will interestingly take us through this series of how transformation of the villu, the bow, from a hunting instrument to a tool of entertainment, of propitiating. More than entertainment, it is propitiating the goddess. Maybe the roots go back to tribal times when they were living in forest and they had to ward off unseen and unforeseen dangers. So at that time they propitiated the local deities, and even to this day this chariot festival is seen to be taking place during these 2 months in the southern regions of Tamil Nadu. So I now request Manali to introduce Lavanya to our listeners.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. It is my privilege to introduce our speaker for today, Lavanya Prasad ji. An electrical engineer turned professional storyteller, Lavanya ji often says she makes better connections, more lasting connections through stories than through electrical wires. Since 2011, she has been weaving magic through her organization, Tailscope, which works with children, adults, and senior citizens by using stories as a medium of learning and connection. A trained Bharatnatyam dancer and classical music exponent, Lavanyaji brings these art forms together with her love for mythology and folklore to create a unique storytelling style. Her workshops and presentations have taken her to international and national storytelling festivals and conferences. Most recently, she represented India in South Korea, conducting a workshop on the art of telling stories to senior citizens at an international conference. She has also led a cultural contribution collaboration on the Ramayana in Indonesia and performed in the Villupatu style for audiences in Sri Lanka. Her project Roots with senior citizens has been acknowledged and appreciated by the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi. A passionate advocate for the power of stories, Lavanya ji believes that storytelling is the building block of a better nation, and she works extensively with teachers to help them use stories as tools for creating lasting impressions on students. So we are honored to have you here with us today, and please join me in welcoming Lavanya ji. And I now open the stage for her to give the talk on Echoes of the Bow, the story of a weapon from hunting to healing.
First of all, a very big thanks to Geeta ma'am and Manali for bringing me to this platform. I've been a big, huge fan of Destination Heritage and Geeta ma'am herself. So when she asked me that if I could do a small talk on what interests me the most, Villupate, I immediately jumped in and said yes. So Geeta ma'am, my sincere thanks and gratitude to you for encouraging such talks in this special forum, Destination Heritage. So, without any further ado, I'm just going to get into the beautiful art form of what Villupate is. I'm sure you're going to have fun because this is going to be a very interactive performance. I know you guys are watching me live and you'll be able to send your comments in YouTube, which is perfectly okay. As you feel, whatever, when I'm saying something, if there is something that you feel something is nice, please do type in. We'll be really, really happy to take the questions after the presentation. And there is also a story for you that I want to tell in the Villupata style that happens. So without any further ado, I'm getting into the presentation. I will be sharing my screen shortly. So please give me 1 minute. Okay. Can you see my screen, Manali?
Yes, ma'am. Do put
Yes,
it
I'm
on
going to
full
put it
screen,
on.
ma'am.
Yes, I'm going
Yes,
to put it on.
perfect.
Fine, great. So this is how we start the echoes of the bow. And for that, I have to have this beauty with me. So now this is a miniature villa, what you see in that screen as well, that I use to present Villupata's stories in online, it's very easily connecting to the audience when I have a miniature villa. So this is my miniature villa that I made. So with this and big pranams to Ganapati, I start this session. தந்தனத்தோம் என்று சொல்லியே வில்லினில் பாட ஆமா வில்லினில் பாட வந்தருவாள் கலை மகளே. My pranams to everyone in this webinar. Aha, oho, eh. My humble namaste to all my listeners. Today I am going to tell the story of a beautiful art form that million hearts took over. Tarigida tarigida tom, tarigida tarigida tom, tarigida tarigida tom. Yes, yes. Now this was an oral storytelling art form that captured millions of heart, and this comes from the place I hail from, Tamil Nadu. Yes, and this is called the Villu Paattu or the Villadicham Paattu. Now, Villu in Tamil means bow and Paattu is song. So, Villu Paattu literally translates to bow song, and this is the beautiful art form that I am going to talk to you all about today. So, I'm going to keep this Villu aside for some time until we get back to when we need that Villu, right? So, I'm Lavanya Prasad and I'm a professional storyteller and the founder of Talescope, my storytelling organization. And today my heart is filled with joy and gratitude because I will be sharing with you all something that I hold very, very close to my heart. Now, stories and storytelling, it has been there for very, 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 very long. Even before, letters and letters were there, and even before people started documenting, stories were there in this world, and that became a very important tool our ancestors used to communicate important information to the generations that came next. Yes or no? Correct. And so I would say that this oral storytelling tradition um, was there right from the caveman days. Right from people were hunters and gatherers, they used to sit around the fire that you see in the picture like this, and they used to share what their experiences were. So these became stories, and these became important information that they conveyed to the people, to let them know about the dangers and to let them know about how the world was and what they discovered in this world, right? And so story and storytelling tradition was present in nook and corner of the world and is still present in every civilization, because it upholds the culture and tradition of any society, and it becomes the backbone of a society. In short, I should say, stories are a way of life, which is why during the king's times, people like the bards or the kathakars, history records them as very important people. So in a king's court, you will definitely find a storyteller, you will definitely find a bard, because they were the ones who were considered to be who can very easily connect with the commons using their stories. And the king protected them. To have a good storyteller in a kingdom was very essential, because the king believed that whatever he wanted to convey to the commons, it would be conveyed in a better way through these kathakars and storytellers. And that stays true even today. We storytellers are the ones who try to connect with you, and we try to tell what we otherwise feel very difficult to tell, right? So stories are, has always been a way of life. Now, so this all the people understood, very long time ago. All the artists, I would say, people who were in the dance, or who learnt music, or who did visual arts, understood this very well, and so they tried to incorporate stories into their art forms. And these legends, they classified the art forms into classical and folk, depending upon how they were and where they originated from. The art forms were classified into classical art forms and folk art forms. And of course, everything had a structure, and they also had a very particular way of conveying it to the audience. Nevertheless, the folk forms were many, and out of the folk form, one such is the oral storytelling tradition, which is Villupattu, and that hails and comes from Tamil Nadu, the southern region of Tamil Nadu. Now, if you were a 90s kids like me, especially who grew up in Tamil Nadu, I mean, everywhere DD was prevalent, Doordarshan was prevalent, but in Tamil Nadu, when there were very important days, like the Independence Day or Pongal, the first thing that would happen in DD is, the first program that we would see in Doordarshan is a group of storytellers coming and singing stories about that particular day. If it was an Independence Day, then they would have stories of freedom fighters. If it was the day of Pongal, then they would have some story about Pongal, but it was so beautiful. And what was very unique about that, I'll have to tell you. Now see this. What fascinated me the most about such programs was that the musical instruments and the accompaniments that the storytellers had with them was something that blew my mind. Just listen to what this storytelling looks like, and then you will understand what I say. Now, if you see, the storyteller, the main storyteller here, is using a bow as an instrument to tell stories. And now that fascinated me. You know why? Because bow that I used, in the Ramayana that was telecasted in the 90s, Dayanand Sagar's Ramayana. And Rama used to hold that bow in his hand and arrows, and he used to kill his enemies with that. And now in my mind, I'm like, wow, how can somebody use a bow to tell stories, make music? And now, fast forward to who I am today, a storyteller. I really wanted to find out what was the story behind a weapon, a war weapon that was used for hunting and killing became an instrument of expression where people were telling stories and connecting with listeners. And what I found out, I would like to share with you all today. This is the story of how a war weapon became a musical instrument, something that went from hunting to healing. Let's listen. And another important thing in Villupattu is that, if you see whatever I had shown you a few minutes back, there was so much energy in the performance. They used the three elements of Tamil, I would say. It is called the Iyal Tamil or the prose, the Isai Tamil or the poetry, and the Nadaga Tamil or theatre. All the three elements of Tamil were combined into one oral storytelling art form. Just imagine how much it would have entertained people, right? So people who like to listen to stories, there is something for them. People who like poetry, there is something for him. And on top of it, the storyteller is all animated and singing the stories, and there is audience interaction happening. This is one of the best art forms, and this originated not now, not a few years back, but very, very long time ago. Now listen to the story of this beautiful art form, Villupattu. Very, very long time ago. Nobody knows how long ago, but very, very long time ago, there was this Raja who loved hunting. And this Raja, along with his troop, he took his soldiers and his troop into the forest to hunt for wild animals. Now this became a play for him. Earlier Rajas used to go hunting because they thought that there were so many wild animals that was actually troubling people, and so they would kill a few, to make peace, establish peace inside the village and the forest, right? But this Raja was hunting for pleasure. He loved hunting and he loved to boast about his skill. And so that is why that day too, he took his troops into the forest for hunting. வில்லெடுத்து அம்பு ஏத்தி விரட்டி அடிச்சு ஓடி காட்டு பண்ணிய பிடி டண்டனக்க நயனக்க டண்டனக்க நயனக்க டண்டக்கு டண்டக்கு டண்டடா. He went around everywhere. He chased wild boars, and swing went one arrow hitting a wild boar, and swing went another arrow hitting a deer, and swing went another arrow hitting an elephant. In no time, the Raja had hunted so many animals, and every day after the kill, he used to just sit under a tree and he would wait for his soldiers to display the kill, to see his strength, to see what power he had over the animals. And that day too, the soldiers did display the kill that the Raja had made. There were deers, there were wild boars, there were leopards, there were baby deers, there were baby elephants, there were so many animals. And suddenly a thought crossed the Raja's mind. வாழும் உயிரை வாங்குதல் யாவருக்கும் சாத்தியமே, ஆனால் வீண்ட உயிரை எழுப்புதல் வேந்தன் நினைத்தாலும் ஆகாதுவே. You know what the thought was? Oh my God, it is so easy for anybody to kill someone, but will you be able to bring back a life? And that was the time he actually asked himself a question. Do I have the power to bring back the life? Do I have the power to bring back this little fawn that the mother deer is looking for? Do I have the power to bring back this elephant that probably a baby elephant, a calf, is looking for? I don't. And that is when he realized that he had committed a grave sin. பாவம் பண்ணிட்டேனே ஐயோ பாவம் பண்ணிட்டேனே ஐயோ பாவம் பண்ணிட்டேனே. He could not bear the fact that he had created a grave sin. Now, my dear people, I'll have to tell you something, Even though the kings those days sometimes turned out to be foolish, they were very, very good in selecting their ministers. Because the ministers were the one who advised the king when they went or when they treaded on a wrong path. Unlike the ministers of today. Well, now, this Raja too had a minister. So he turned to his minister and he said, please help me. What do I do? How can I make this okay? How can I wash away the sins? Now the minister was a very clever person. He looked at Raja and he said, first calm down, calm down. You know what, Raja? When your mind is clouded with such thoughts and when you feel very turbulent inside, you know what will calm you down? When you tell the truth out. So I would suggest you sing your truth out to this world. And when you sing it, your mind, your heart will become light and you will feel better. Maybe that would be the time where you have transformed and your sins will start coming down. Why don't you try singing the truth? And now, like I told you, the Raja was indeed a foolish Raja. He looked around and he said, I'm not in my Sabha. I'm not in my kingdom. I don't have any instruments with me. How do you expect me to sing? And you know what the minister said? பாடுறது நாயாச்சு காடா இருந்தா என்ன நாடா இருந்தா என்ன? You have decided to sing. So what if it is a forest or your court? Now just sing with your heart. But what do I do for the musical instruments? He said. The minister looked at him and said, well, the bow and arrow, those were the things that made you commit the sin. Why don't you use them only as your instruments too? Well, that was something very interesting that the Raja did not think about at all. And so you know what he did? He took the bow, he tried to place it, and he tried to hit the string of the bow with the arrows. But then the bow seemed to fall down. The minister gave another idea too. He asked the soldiers to bring the pot which they used to fill in honey and water. And the Raja made the bow sit on top of the pot. And then he started hitting the strings of the bow, creating rhythm to sing. But again, the Raja had a doubt. Oh my dear minister, I have heard that when poets wanted to sing in praise of the Lord comes himself and gives them the first line magically. Now what line do I sing? Please tell me. I am already in such turbulent mood. I just can't think straight. Can you please help me? That is when the minister said the most important thing, which stays even today when it comes to this art form, or any art form for that matter. The minister said, தன்னையே தந்து பாடிவிடுங்கள். When you are doing an art, when you are practicing an art, what is important is you will have to completely surrender to the art. You will have to give yourself completely to the art and sing. Today you're singing, you give yourself completely. தன்னையே தந்து பாடிவிடுங்கள். And the தன்னையே தந்து became தன்னை தந்தோம், and that became தந்தனத்தோம். So whenever somebody starts a Villupattu performance, they always start with this. தந்தனத்தோம் மகா தந்தனத்தோம் மோக தந்தனத்தோம் என்று சொல்லியே வில்லினில் பாட அம்மா வில்லினில் பாட வந்தருவாள் கலை மகளே. தானதந்தத்தோடு 7 சந்தங்களும் தாளத்தோடு ஆனவம்மி உருமி தந்தை தொந்திமியோடு ஆமா தொந்திமியோடு அத்தனையும் மேளத்தோடே தந்தனத்தோம். That is தன்னை தந்தோம். I gave myself to the art and I'm singing. To remember this, Villupattu artists even today start their performance with this line. Tandanato, moho tandanato. Obviously, the minister, who was very, very happy to see the Raja, looked at the soldiers and he said, "Now come on, come on. A storyteller needs listeners. Why don't you all say yes, yes to whatever the Raja says? He will be reassured and he will be happy to see that the listeners are listening and he will sing his truth wholeheartedly." That is what happened. When the Raja sang, all the soldiers who were there gathered around and they said, "Ama, Ama," meaning yes, yes, what you're saying is right. So that gave the Raja more power to sing his truth. And when he sang his truth, my dear people, his heart healed. And that is how a musical instrument was born. A musical instrument of Ville Pattu was born. Ville is the bow and Pattu is the song. And that is how a war instrument turned into a healing instrument. What a beautiful story, isn't it? Now, weapons in Indian context, you know, they have a very, very special place. I'll tell you why. Because it was it was very important with respect to Indian culture. Our Puranas and our Itihasas have always talked about rajas or gods and goddesses who used weapons to destroy evil. And whenever they were using the weapons, you know what they did? They used to take the weapon, invoke the deity to that particular weapon, and then use it. When I say invoking the deity, like for example, in Ramayana you would have seen Rama invoking the Brahmastra or the Nagastra or the Varunastra. So they would invoke that particular deity and then use the bow for its complete, to enhance or capture the complete power of that weapon. Now when I say invoke the deity, I don't mean worship or any ritual, but it was more of trying to bring their senses together to focus on that particular weapon that they are holding in their hands and view it with absolute respect and reverence. At the same time, understanding that if they are going to use this weapon, as they are harnessing the power of this weapon, they also take the responsibility of understanding that this weapon would also lead to destruction. So when they are invoking, they're trying to gather their senses together and they're trying to tell themselves that I'm completely aware that when I'm using this weapon, I also realize and understand the repercussions of using this, and I understand and take complete responsibility for the same. So that is what weapons in our culture have always meant, and it is, like what I said, very deeply rooted to our tradition also. I'll tell you why. Dashera is approaching, and in Dashera we have this particular day that we celebrate in South India as the Ayudha Puja Day, where we actually celebrate or pray to the Ayudhams. When I say Ayudhams, it doesn't mean only weapon. It means everything that we put to use. You know, the mixer, the grinder, the refrigerator, the television, everything becomes Ayudham that day. So in our house, what we used to do is early in the morning, we wake up, we take bath, and the cars, the cars are also decorated with flowers, and we put vibhuti on cars, and we put vibhuti everywhere. All the TV, the refrigerator, everything gets cleaned, and everything we apply vibhuti. Why? Why should we do that? Well, that has got the connection to the weapons and worship that I just spoke to you now. When we are doing that, what we actually tell ourselves is, I completely understand the way that I will have to use this Ayudham. And I also understand that if this is not used in the right way, then it would lead to destruction. What a great way, right? What a great way to help us understand our responsibilities, isn't it? So probably that is why a bow was used to tell stories. a bow that was a war instrument, which, when was not used properly, led to destruction that the king could not imagine. But the same bow was made use of by our ancestors to tell out the truth so that the healing could start happening. What a fascinating thing, isn't it? And our ancestors chose the most important tool for connecting: stories to sing, stories to dance, stories to do art form. And that is how I think this bow came out to be an instrument of healing. Now, the Raja probably understood this healing power that was there for this Villupattu, and records say that he took it to his court and he taught other people to sing Villupattu. Now, this Villupattu, like I told you, happened in the southernmost region of Tamil Nadu, in the Kanyakumari, Thoothukudi, Tenkasi regions of Tirunelveli districts of Tamil Nadu. So, even today, you can see people in that region very predominantly singing Villupattu. The traditional Villupattu artists are still there today. Now, what the Raja probably used to sing his truth, and to also, they say, he motivated his soldiers during war times. They used to sing the Veera of the soldiers who killed and fought their enemies, which could bring the other soldiers, give them the effervescence to fight. So that was what it was used for. But probably, later, it became a part of the culture and tradition of that society, and they started singing the songs of the gods and goddesses that they prayed to in that region. So even today, when you go, you will see the Villupattu happening in a festival called Kodai Vira that Geeta ma'am mentioned about in the starting. So the Kodai Vira happens in the month of July, August, or the Adi Masam we call it in Tamil, where the Villupattu artists go and sit in front, right opposite to the deity, and they sing the glory of the god. Now, what is very important here is, how did this happen? Because the stories that the traditional people sing are completely different to the stories that I heard. What I heard in the TV was contemporary stories. They talked about Pongal festival, they talked about Independence Day stories. But what were these traditional Villupattu stories about? Well, there are two types. There are the birth stories and the death stories. So when I mean the birth stories, it means the birth and how the gods and the goddesses prevailed in that land. So for example, Ayyanar or Mariamman, the stories of Mariamman, Kaliamman, everything became the birth stories that the traditional Villupattu artists sang. And now comes the most interesting thing. There are also death stories. Now, what do I mean by death stories? These were the stories of human beings, human beings who were in the path of Dharma, but they were killed unjustly. They raised above and they came back with powers, took vengeance over the evil, and demanded worship, temple, and they became the folk deities. So they became the part of the local cult. Now those are the death stories that is sung, and here you see images of some of the heroes of the death stories, Muthupattan and Pattavarayar. So all these people became a part of the local cult. So even today in Kodai Vira, you will see the traditional artists singing the stories of the gods and goddesses and the humans who became a part of the local cult. But no, that was not what I heard. I heard something very different. It was very contemporary. Nothing like the traditional Villupattu, where people sing in front of gods and there is people who are listening, and they say that, God comes over people. You can see one person dancing because after listening to this exciting Villupattu, God comes over him and he starts to become the god, and he dances like the god, and that is what happens in the Kodai Vira that we see. So what do you think could be the difference between these two? Now, The stories, of course, because the stories that were told in the Villapattu, traditional Villapattu, like I said, it was the birth and the death stories. But this had the beautiful contemporary stories that was brought. The instruments that were used earlier, they used to use, bow that was made of palm tree, but now people use the plastic bows, or sometimes even very flexible bows made of bamboo. All those things are being used, and earlier they used to use cow hide as the string, but now they have used various other things that would be easier for them to carry, and which is long and sustaining. But how did this transition happen? How could such a traditional art form move into something which is very contemporary and above everything last until today? Well, for that, I will have to tell you about the two stalwarts in Tamil cine industry. One is Padma Shri Kottamangalam Subramanyam, who is also called as Kottamangalam Subbu. He was one of the main persons involved with the Gemini Studios, who had a very great affiliation to theatre, prose, and poetry. He himself was a poet, lyricist, and everything, and he practiced Villipattu. He learnt Villipattu, he practiced Villipattu. The other one was Kalaivanar N.S. Krishnan. Now, Kalaivanar N.S. Krishnan played a very huge role in bringing Villipattu to the cities from the villages. Let me tell you how. He himself was born in the region, and he started off as a Villipattu artist, NSK we call him, and he was a comedian in the Tamil cine industry. But he was a comedian who always gave, social messages through his comedy. So he was always on the lookout for how he could bring back Villipattu to the cities. He saw that it was lacking. What was there in the city, what was there in the villages was lacking in the city. Such an art form cannot be missed. And this happened when he went to his hometown to preside over a function one day, for a school function. And there he saw a little boy who was, singing and telling stories of Gandhiji, but with a tint of humor in his speech. And NSK did not fail to notice that boy. He called the boy. He said, "Now you will have to come with me to the city, because I am going to train you to sing Villipattu and to bring in the social issues so that it will reach to the people in the cities." And that is none other than the great Villipattu artist who recently passed away. His name is Ayya Subbu Arumugam. So he was a direct disciple of N.S. Krishnan sir. A true artist never fails to identify another. So even when N.S. Krishnan sir passed away in the year 1957, Subbu Arumugam Ayya took over, and he created something magical with Villipattu. People started seeing the way he was interacting with the audience, using humor as one of the main element, and bringing in the prose, poetry, and theatre all into one art form. And the government started using him as a tool to talk about various things that they otherwise thought will not be able to reach to a very larger audience, like for example family planning, or any new health benefits that the government is giving, or to talk about sanitation, health and hygiene. Everything was done through Villipattu. I'll tell you why. Because the bamboo willow that is used is very flexible, isn't it? Just like that, even Villipattu is flexible. The art form itself is flexible. It allows the artist to choose the stories that it wants to say, but at the same time also retaining something very important. Well, I should say, with the advent of television, Villipattu walked into the living rooms of people, where all these issues that you see in the screen, where it is, these are some of the issues. But at the same time, what made this folk art form, despite the change, stay long was, without altering the 7-step traditional original structure, they were able to convey what they wanted. Now, these are the 7 structures which you would see when I'm doing my story in the end. So it starts with a kapu. Kapu is where you seek the blessings from the divine. And then the storyteller talks about what they are going to tell. And then there is a Guru Vandanam. And then they look at the audience and say, Entaro Mahanubhavlu, you are all great people. I am the humble artist. And then they sing the praise, or they sing the story. And when they end, they sing the praise of the audience, and they end with a finishing song which is otherwise called the Varthu Padal. Now you can tell or read detailed about this in a paper of mine that I have written in Villipattu, which I probably would share to people who are interested to read. Right? Now, people like Subbu Armukhamaiya, I grew up listening to his stories in Doordarshan. So obviously they were very inspired to go and talk. And Villipattu traveled across India, and it even went to Sri Lanka, I should say, where Tamil was being spoken. So now this is a clipping from a college in Jaffna, where the children are telling stories in Tamil using the Villipattu that has its that had its birth in the southernmost region of Tamil Nadu. Now listen to this. What you'll have to very keenly notice here is humor will be very beautifully woven into this. So there was a sense of humor that was woven into the story for better connection with the audience. Obviously, this is in Tamil. So this they are talking about Valluvar, the poet Valluvar, but there is a lot of humor element that is involved. There is interacting with the audience, interacting with each other. If, as you see, there is a main storyteller, and there are side supporting storytellers who say ama, ama, and ask questions, and that is how the interaction happens between the storyteller, the audience, and the people who are with him. Right? Not only this, even a transition in the language happened, because like I told you, this is the most flexible art form. It allows you to experiment, at the same time retaining the essence of what actually it is. Now, even very taboo topics like menstruation were addressed. Watch this video.
Vanakkam, I'm the sister from the south, and these are my Tangachis. We'd like to put a big welcome to everyone watching this video. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sisters, do you know what's special about 28th May? What is special? It's World Menstrual Hygiene Day. And today I want to talk about the menstrual hygiene products that we have. See, I used to use sanitary pads. Sanitary pad. They are efficient, hygienic, and easy to access. Bish. But then, like the poet Thiru J.Z. Avargal once said, I had 99 problems. What problems, sister? Sing and tell, no? Okay, sing it up, Ocher. DJ, start music. Did you know the fact that you have a 90% plastic, 90% synthetic, just like my exes? I love you. That's 125 kg of sanitary waste that you throw away every year.
Now, in this, connecting to the current generation. So they're using English and Tamil, a mix of the songs, and bringing in humor to connect to the current generation, and also bringing in social awareness about what change they could create. How beautiful, isn't it? Now, how could this sustain? How can a folk oral tradition, which was deeply rooted in gods and goddesses, changed to the contemporary, became a very important tool for bringing about awareness? How did it sustain all these years? That is because the root or the essence of the art form never changed. It spoke the truth of Indian nation through the art as medium. Now, what is the truth that our Indian nation or Bharat nation is rooted in? That is there in the chapter 4, verse 7 of Bhagavad Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Whenever evil prevails in this world, whenever evil comes up in this world, I take birth to destroy the evil and bring about dharma back again, said Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Now, if you're going to see this with a little more depth, whenever evil prevails in one's soul, now connected to the story that I told you earlier, the king's story, he was having a thought of killing all the animals for his pleasure. Evil pervaded in his soul. And that is when I will be born. I will take birth again in one's soul. So the dharma, that he was creating a sin, the thought was born in his soul. And peace prevailed later. He used the art, that is the Villipatu, as the medium to sing his truth. And when he did that, he started healing. How beautiful, isn't it? And in all of this, there was one underlying essence, the victory of good over evil, which is the ultimate truth that India, the tradition of India, lies in. And if you see, most of the festivals that we celebrate also has that as the underlying theme, isn't it? Whatever happens, dharma will prevail. That is what India believes in. And that is what was the essence of this art form. And that is why it is staying to this day, because the essence always was there, despite the change in the stories or the bani or the style of the telling. Such a beautiful art form. And now, so from a Kodai Vira traditional storytelling to coming to share patriotic stories for the generations of when I was a kid, to addressing social awareness issues to Gen Zs, this art form is still relevant because it is something that bridges the past and the present and takes it to the future, retaining the essence of what the art form is all about. And that is why, my dear people, today, as a storyteller, I stand humbled before you because this beautiful art form has taken over me too. And I feel a very sense of responsibility to help reach this beautiful art form to the younger generations. And that's what I do. I do a special storytelling event called Where There Is a Will, There Is a Way, where I train the young minds to learn this art form and, to take it to the world further. My small bit to this beautiful art form, which is why I say the echoes of the bow will stay always. You will hear the twang of the echoes of the bow, because where there is a will, there definitely is a way. Now, a storyteller is nobody without an audience. You all have been absolutely amazing audience today. I thank you with the bottom of my heart for listening to what this Villipatu is all about. I would like to finish this session with a song, a story that I wrote. It's a folk tale, but I have tweaked it into the Villipatu style. I would like to finish with that, but for that I will have to stop sharing screen. Allow me to do that. Yes, so I just need to ask Manali, is the screen sharing stopped now?
Yes, ma'am, it is stopped.
Great. So let me tell you all a beautiful story in the Villipatu way. This is a story which is very, very close to my heart. It's a folk tale, but I have adapted it to something which is very, very essential for this generation. So this story is about the harmful use of mobile phones, right? So mobile phone, children are always sitting with mobile phone. So once somebody came and asked me that, ma'am, can you just do a story of the harmful usage of mobile phones, and how we could just take them away from the mobile phone. So this is I've taken the storyteller's creative license to weave a folk tale into this, especially in this Villupattu style, and that is what I will be presenting to you all today. Now, what you'll have to notice here is um, the steps that I mentioned, the traditional steps of how a Villupattu is performed, right? You please notice that while I start my story. I'll start with the Kapu or the Avai Vandanam. கண கண கணபதியே வில்லில் பாட நான் வந்தேன் கணபதியே கலை 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 மகளே சரஸ்வதியே அருள் தருவாய் அம்மா நீ காத்தருள்வாய் என்று கேட்டுக்கொண்டு I'm starting this வில்லுப்பாட்டு performance with a big namaskarams to Ganapati and Saraswati. Now my dear people, do you know what I'm going to talk about today? Let me tell you. தந்தனத்தோ மக தந்தனத்தோ மோஹோ தந்தனத்தோம் என்று சொல்லியே வில்லினில் பாட அம்மா வில்லினில் பாட வந்தருவாள் கலை மகளே. தானதந்தத்தோடு 7 சந்தங்களும் தாளத்தோடு அம்மா ஓஹோ ஏஹே. தானதந்தத்தோடு 7 சந்தங்களும் தாளத்தோடு ஆன பம்மி உருமி தந்தை தொந்திமியோடு அம்மா தொந்திமியோடு அத்தனையும் மேளத்தோடே. Listen to the story of Aditya அம்மா ஓஹோ பேஷ் பேஷ். Listen to the story of Aditya. And you know what was very special about Aditya? He was always with his mobile phones. And his mother did not like it a bit, So every time Amma was looking at Aditya would come back from school and sit with his mobile phone. Amma was pissed off. She looked at Aditya and she tried to tell him in the nicer way. Alepesi Aditya Amrudam kuhuda nandu danda ama nandu danda கைபேசி கண்டிருந்தா உன் கண்கள் வீணா போகுமடா போகுமடா. Oh my dear Aditya, don't look at the mobile phones, my dear. Your eyes are going to hurt, said Amma. But Aditya was never in the mood to listen. You know what he did? He simply said, That's what children do these days, right? So Amma had an idea. Dashara leaves were approaching, and if she's going to have Aditya here, it is going to be really, really bad. And so she decided to send Aditya to her mother's house in a village. So she called Aditya, packed his bags off, and sent him to Aji's house. Now the only question that Aditya had was, Amma, does Aji's house have internet connection? Amma said, no. You will never have mobile phones there. Just pack your bags and go off. Aditya was not very happy, but he still went. He loved his Aji, you see, especially the cooking that she did. Wow, such lovely, lovely food that she used to make for him. And that is why when she reached Aji's house and he took the mobile phone out, Aji looked at him and said, Kanne Aditya, inda vayasula cell phone venda rasa, odi adi விளையாடினாலே மனசு ஆகும் லேசா. Kanne Aditya, in this age, why are you having your cell phone? You should go out and play with children. And Aditya said, Go Aji, it is so boring. I really don't want to do. Just go around the village, look around, see what is there. You will meet people, you will see the beauty of this village. Why don't you go? And that's what Aditya did, because sitting at home he was extremely bored. So he went out to see people, and that is when he heard a tandora. The village headman was sending somebody to give information to the people. And what was the tandora about? Hear ye! The village headman has lost his precious ancestor's ring that was given to him by his great grandfather. And so he wanted to pray to the lords to get it back somehow. And so he has arranged for a Ramayana performance every evening. He believes that by doing this, his ancestors will bless him and he would get back his great great grandfather's ring. Everybody, please assemble today by the lake, next to the temple, under the tree to listen to stories of Ramayana. So that was the announcement. Now Ajji heard it too. Ajji thought, wow, this is the time. This is the time I will have to make my grandson realize that he could stay away from mobile phones but still be completely entertained. So she called Aditya and she said, you better go and listen to the stories that this storyteller is going to tell. Aditya was not interested, but Ajji promised him good food. And so he ate good food and he went evening 6 o'clock to sit by this beautiful lake under the tree to listen to the stories Ramayana that the storyteller was going to tell. There were people, so many people, but Aditya was not really interested, you see. He looked around as the storyteller started. Kadakele, kadakele, najamana kadakele, suvayode sugamaga, urvana kadakele, Rama, Lakshmana, Sita, Hanumar kadaya nalla kele. If you listen to Ramayana, your soul will love you, paru. Kadakele, kadakele, listen to the stories, my dear. Listen to the stories, my dear. Listen to the stories, my dear. But then, when all the other people were sitting and listening to stories, you know what Aditya did? He stretched his hand out like this. Amma, he's been walking everywhere. He was feeling very tired. And so he found himself a corner and he went and snored off to glory. As the storyteller was telling the stories. The first day ended with the marriage of Rama and Sita. Sita Kalyana Vaibhogame Rama Kalyana Vaibhogame. And when it ended, the storyteller gave sweets to everybody. There was Aditya who was sitting in one corner with his mouth open, yawning. And somebody popped a laddu inside his mouth. He woke up. He went straight to his grandmother's house. And grandmother was very keen to know how the days or the nights Ramayana was. She looked at him and she said, how was the story, Aditya? Did you like it? சுவையான கதைய கேட்டேன் லட்டு போல இனிச்சுதுவே பாட்டி சுவையான கதைய கேட்டேன் லட்டு போல இனிச்சுதுவே it was as sweet as laddu ajji ajji ramayana it was as sweet as laddu ajji and Ajji believed him. Ajji said, how the Ramayana is as sweet as laddu. I'm very happy today, so I'm going to make you pongal and puri and you can eat that and go today night also. Now Aditya liked to eat pongal and puri and so he went the next day too. The next day, he was starting the storyteller. This time, the crowd was even more. He tried to figure out where he had to sit and somehow found a spot in the corner. And so he went and cuddled himself against a wall, made himself comfortable so that he could sleep peacefully as the storyteller was singing. The storyteller started that day. Jagam pugarum punya kadai Ramanin kadaye adai sevi kulira paadiduven kelungalidaye. Listen to the story of great Ramachandra. Aditya was already asleep. But this time, there was one little boy who was looking for space to sit. He did not have any space to sit, you know. So he sat on Aditya's shoulder who was sleeping and he was listening to that story. Some other boy. But our Aditya was happily sleeping. You know what happened? In the morning, that day, just before ending, it was the scene where Mandara and Kaikeyi were discussing that Rama was going to become the king after Dasharatha. Ramanuku mannan mudi tavithale nanmayundoru pale. Ramanuku mannan mudi tarithale nanmayundoru kale. And then Mandara looked at Kaikeyi and said, "Are you crazy? Make your son Bharata the king." That is where he stopped. Everybody were feeling very heavy after listening to what Kaikeyi has done. Now he also got up Aditya and he went home with his shoulders paining so much because there was this boy who was sitting entire night on his shoulders, right? So when he went home, his Aji asked him promptly, "So tell me, Aditya, how was today's Ramayana's performance? Did you like it?" And you know what Aditya said? My body is aching, Aji. Aha, Aji. Oho, Aji. I don't know why I feel heavy, Aji. And Aji looked at him and said, how the Ramayana gets heavy as it goes by. You must have listened to the episode of Kaikeyi and Mantara Alva. I know for sure. But then Achi was very happy that the grandson was actually listening and made laddus and jalebis for him. Aditya gobbled up everything and he went to the next day. Now this day, as the storyteller was sitting and singing stories of Rama, he just lay down flat, found a nice spot and extended his arms and legs and happily slept. Ayodhya Vasi Ram, Dasharatha Nandana Ram, Janaki Jeevana Ram, 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 Rama Rama Jaya Ram, Koshalai Kanmani Ram. It was going for the entire night and Aditya was sleeping. When the sun came up, there was this dog which was looking for a place to urinate and the entire place was jam-packed. And you know what the dog saw? He saw Aditya's mouth open and he decided that is the right place to urinate and went and urinated right inside Aditya's mouth. Psh! Aditya woke up. It's so salty. What is this? And he went back home to the Ajji who was eagerly waiting to listen how that day's Ramayana was. He looked at Ajji and he said, தண்ணி போல இருந்துச்சு, உப்பா கரிச்சிச்சு, மனம் ஏனோ சரியல, எனக்கு ஒன்றும் புரியல. It tasted like salt. It was very watery. I don't know why I'm not getting a good feel about it, Paati. And now Paati got alert. She said, what? Ramayana was salty? It tasted like water? Where have you been? Huh? You come today, I also will come with you. I will make sure that you sit and listen to the entire Ramayana. So that day, Aditya had no other choice but to sit and listen. So this was the first time he was opening his ears and listening to the actual Ramayana, you see. And that is when he caught the essence of the storytelling. The storyteller who brought in song, music and theatre into the storytelling. And there he sat mesmerized as he was talking about Sundarakanda, the place where Hanuman was flying across the ocean to meet Sita Mata on the other side. அழகான சுந்தரகாண்டம் கதை கேட்க பாருங்க, கடல் தாண்டும் வீர ஹனுமான் கதையத்தான் கேளுங்க. அழகான சுந்தரகாண்டம் கதை கேட்க பாருங்க, come listen to the story of Hanuman the Great. Hanuman the Great. Sundarakanda is what I will tell today. And that time was when Aditya was actually listening with keen interest. And you know what happened? As the storyteller was narrating the story, by mistake he said, as Hanuman was flying, you know what? He dropped Rama's ring into the ocean by mistake and tawak, Aditya got up. He was so much into the telling. He said, I don't want Hanuman to fail. I don't want Hanuman to fail. I will go and fetch the ring for Hanuman. And he looked the lake that was by his side and he jumped into the lake. Everybody got so scared. They looked around searching for Aditya, but Aditya dived deep into the lake. And when he came out, my dear people, believe me, he came with a ring. He said, I got Rama's ring. I got Rama's ring. The storyteller was looking here and there, confused. But then there was somebody in the audience who was very happy. Now, no prizes for that. It was indeed the village chief, because he actually found the ring of his ancestors, his great 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 grandfather's ring. And so when Aditya gave that to the village chief, he was so happy. He made Aditya sit on the stage, put male on his neck, and he said, "Aha, oho, besh besh, you are somebody who was sent by the ancestors. Look, I made Ramayana happen in this village, and my ancestors were pleased." Aditya did not understand a single thing. But he knew one thing that day. If he listened very carefully, magic would happen. And that is how, my dear people, Aditya kept his mobile phone away the entire Dashara vacation and listened to Ramayana. And when he went back home as a storyteller who wanted to tell stories, who wanted to spread the joy of stories. Ramachandraya Janakaraja Manoharaya Mamaka Vishtadaya Mahita Mangalam Lalita Ratna Kundalaya Tulasi Vanamalikaya Jalaja Sadrusha Dehaya Charu Mangalam Charu Mangalam Charu Mangalam. Thank you, my dear listeners. Thank you, my dear listeners. I pray to God for all your happiness and good health. May you live long, may you live long, may you live long. And with that, I finish the presentation of this beautiful oral storytelling art form, Villapattu. Thank you so much. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
Where there is a will, there is a will part. Where there is a will part, there is a Lavanya Prasad who stole our hearts, making the session not a talk, but a storytelling session, showing and proving the power of storytelling. She took us back in time to our childhood days, where storytelling would become a session very much to be looked forward to, as this would be told by our grandparents or aunties or mothers. So here she not only told the story, but she also performed. There was wit, humor, theater, communications, all weaving in the ethics, morals, compassion, and of divinity in all that we do. So she spoke about heroes who become divinities after a period of time, which is an element in folk stories. And also we have this concept translated as Veera Gallus, wherein they are commemorated through forever and ever. And in Karnataka, we have lots of 2,000 to 5,000 Veera Gallus commemorating the valor of the heroes. Just a minute. History has a much broader spectrum in the storytelling context. Personal history, lesser known but quaint regional stories of folk deities. All these are part of our collective history. The richness of storytelling in the Indian context does not confine itself only to the oral form, as they are structured and enshrined in various art forms such as sculpture, weaving, theater, music, and many more arts. As compared to the classic, like Lavanya Prasad said, folk storytelling features simpler formulaic structures which addresses the specific immediate concerns of the community, of that particular community, and is often performed by common people within an intimate communal setting to a specific audience, as Lavanya has elucidated in her storytelling way, not a talk. It is an interesting concept that she brought attention of a war instrument that the Tamil locals turned into an art of storytelling. From Ambu, the arrow, to Anbu, love. That's the transition that Lavanya skillfully narrated. The bow is a symbol of flexibility, and culture here speaks through strings. Fortunately, this rich tradition has been kept alive with the government support, and it is also, I'm told, it is conducting diploma courses, and with the stalwarts like how Lavanya Prasad informed that the film industry has popularized as this medium has a great potential to inspire young audiences and inspire young audiences
Okay.
Um, Ma'am, your audio seems to be stuck.
Okay, I think by the time she comes back, could
Uh,
be
yeah.
could be the rains. The internet is very bad, so we have
Yes.
heavy rains here in Bangalore.
Okay. I think let us give
She's
her a
locked
couple
down,
of seconds. Yeah.
right?
Once ma'am concludes her remarks, then we can take up the question answers. We have
Sure.
some interesting questions.
Lovely, lovely. I'm looking forward to
Yes.
telling and answering and
But
interacting with the audience too.
yes. Until then, I would just like to read out a few of
Yes,
the
please.
comments. Dr. Harihar Srinivas Rao has written, "It is wonderful. This is the power of folklore and storytelling. Many heartful thanks to Srimati Lavanya Prasad. Geeta ji, I was expecting your very good remarks on Veeragallus of Karnataka. Indeed, very relevant in this context."
Right.
And we have this comment from the Swagram Foundation. Wow, what a storytelling session about storytelling. Beautiful, beautiful visual story. Thank you so much. You created the magic. I'm sorry if there
Thank
is any
you.
background noise on my end. Uh, so the,
I'm
this is
so
another,
glad everybody.
yes, indeed. This is another comment from Dr. Harihar Srinivas Rao. Fantastic creation of Villupattu on mobile and its effect on today's generations. Definitely, ma'am. That was such a wonderful experience to have. The story that you said, not told, but performed. So thank you so much
Right.
for that, ma'am.
Thank
Yes.
you.
I think it may take some more time for ma'am to join. So I will just read out the questions for you, ma'am, if that's
Yes,
all right.
yes, please.
Okay. So this is the first question. Oh, sorry, this is not a question. I will read that later. This is my question. Yes. So, ma'am, when Billu Pattu moved from the village courtyards to the stage and film, what was lost and what was gained?
Okay, very interesting, Manali. Thank you. What was lost was, as it started picking up more in the cities, people walking into the people looking out for traditional artists became less. So no more, not many traditional artists were actually called to perform because there were other ways of doing it and connecting it to people in the city life, and with the advent of television and everything, it became very easy for people to watch people in the cities perform rather than people in the villages. And another thing is that actually reduced the income of these people. The folklorists, the traditional artists, they had that as their bread and butter. So for them to travel across and to, there were instances where traditional artists were also called. Even now with the advent of internet and everything, things are happening. But back then when that transition happened, I think the traditional artists suffered a lot. But thankfully to all the technology, we are able to take even what the traditional artists are doing today to here. But I would also say that the money that comes from this mm, art form is not enough for the artists to sustain. Number one, because earlier Villupatti used to happen as a overnight event. So they would start, like I told you, it happened in the uh, uh, edge of the villages, where the you have the Kaval Devam, or we call it the deity who protects the village. We have those deities in the edge of the village, which opens up to the forest, right? So the Villupata actually used to happen there. And why it used to happen over the entire night was, one, to ward off all the wild animals coming. When they have this sound and music and everything happening, it would ward off the wild animals. And it would just, it just happened to be something very organically. It was starting at 6 o'clock in the evening, and it would go up to 6 o'clock in the morning, like what we did in the Aditya story too. But with the advent of this television and everything else, the time limit became very reduced. People were not having the energy to sit and watch an enter overnight performance. So it became very concise, 1 hour and 1.5 hours, maximum 3 hour programs. And that became a very big hit on the traditional artists. And they were not paid well. And like you said, like you saw, they had many people, like it was a group when it was performed. So whatever had come had to be shared with the other artists too. So their livelihood was at stake. So when the plus was that a beautiful art form came to this city and people knew about it, the minus was that the traditional artists were definitely affected. But the government is making various plans to make sure that it is, this is not dead, and they're trying to support the traditional artists in every way possible. So storytellers like me, we just try our little bit to bring it forth to people and talk about this art form, so that this, I believe, will be a spark in the minds of the listeners to go and find more about the traditional artist, and to go and witness a traditional Villupattu performance, which is nothing like what I did today. It is going to be electric, because the people there, they start dancing, and it's different altogether. So I truly hope this session would be a spark to for them to go and witness the actual traditional Villupattu. So thank you for that question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I do have another question. So, many Villapata stories, as you said, deal with divine births and unjust deaths. Do you see a link between these themes and the way ordinary people process life, suffering, or justice?
Right. So, see, all the folk deities, for that matter, the folk deities that came into our land are very much in connection with what, we go through as people. So, everywhere you see, there is injustice, and then there is justice prevailing. Like I told you, the base of anything, even the traditional Villupattu, was the victory of good over evil, right? So when they tried to bring in, while the birth stories were looked at awe, people looked at it at awe, because it gods and goddesses who were beyond us. But the death stories were about commons, the common people who were a part of that village before, who were leading justful lives, but they were killed for being honest or just. And then when they raised above, they come back, and they take the status of god. So the local folk cult is something that people can relate to. It's like you and me, like how Ramayana stays with us because Rama took the avatar of a human, and Ramayana still stays valid today, because it is the same emotion that we go through as people also. So the local cult, the death stories especially, was a huge connect with the audience, because it talked about them. It gave them the thing that, okay, gods and goddesses are far away, but these are normal people that went through the same thing, but they chose dharma over adharma. So it was like continuously reinforcing with the connect to the comments. So, and the beautiful thing is, they took stories as the theme to address all this, right? So I hope I answered your question there.
Yes, ma'am. Very clearly. Thank you so much. There is a question by Sudeep. When Villupata was used in social awareness campaigns like health or education, was the performance style changed according to the context, or did the traditional format remain intact?
Okay. So, like I mentioned earlier in the slide, also, Mr. Sudeep, the performance style as such, how it changed was with respect to the stories and with respect to the instruments that was used. Even today, the actual traditional instruments are the bow, we call it the tattukari, or the stick that is there, and then we have the pot, the katam, and there are cymbals that were used, but all those kind of evolved. People started using harmoniums, people started using tabla, sometimes you even have veenas being played, so all those were adapted. But even the stories changed, the from the traditional stories to the social awareness campaign. But what remained intact, like what I said, was the structure of the performance. They started off with a ganapati vandanam, and then they spoke about, there is a 7 step traditional structure to the villupattu, which was kept intact even by the contemporary artists, even if it was a single 1 hour performance or a 15-minute storytelling. So the traditional steps into which or how the villupattu was performed was kept intact, and the essence of the storytelling remained the same. The essence is the truth that was spoken, which stayed rooted to the culture. So yes, there was a style change in the style and the bani of storytelling, or the instruments that were used, or the songs that were sung. But what remained intact was the structure, which still made villupattu the villupattu, and the essence which never changed. So truly, truly amazing, because uh, how flexible this art form must be, right? And if somebody is going to come and tell, how can you do villupattu this way, gone case, the art form destroys there. So what I really admire and appreciate is how the artists who have evolved also try to retain the essence while bringing in style with respect to the changing generations and the mindsets of people, so that the art form can be still used to connect with the audience. So that becomes the most important factor, right? To connect with our audience. So that has never changed. I think that is what has made an art form like Villipattis stay alive all these years, which is why I say the echoes of the bow, the twang of the bow, will always be heard, will always be reverberated as long as this is being, kept intact. Thank you for that question. A very beautiful question indeed.
Thank you. Thank you on behalf of Pradeep. There's another question by both Gaya. Do audiences in urban spaces perceive Villapata differently compared to rural communities that have grown up with it?
Absolutely, because what the audiences in two-tier cities like Mumbai, Bombay, or Chennai, or wherever witness is nothing compared to the traditional artists. Because here, I would say. The attention span has reduced considerably, which is why I say that this I hope this event will be a spark for you to go and sit and listen to that. So if something of that degree, that intense and that deep has been allowed to change to this, for the retaining of the art form, that is something that needs to be appreciated. But definitely the way in which people see it is different. So today I'm introducing the younger generation to the art form of Villupattu. So they know Villupattu in a way that I'm introducing in a very, there is humor, there is everything, but I try to do it in a 1 hour slot, right? So if you're going to make the children go and sit and witness the Villupattu, which happens from evening 6 to morning 6, that definitely is going to be a little difficulty for them to grasp and understand. But the idea is to make them go in search of it, and then you will understand what it actually rose from. I think going deeper to the root is very important, right? So that is what sorry, the government is also trying to do. The government is also trying to bring in traditional artists and interact them with this generation kids, this generation people. But at the same time, I should say, even the traditional artists have evolved. You give what the audience ask. As an artist, as a kalakar, it is very important for you to retain the spirit of the art form, but at the same time also understand what your audience need. An artist definitely needs an audience, right? So I think even the traditional artists have understood to bring their concise, what their ancestors gave them as a full night performance has been concised into probably a 3 hour or 4 hour. And probably what this generation sees is something which is one fourth of what our grandparents would have seen. So that is something there. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much, ma'am. This is my last question. So you were just talking about how governments are introducing or trying to encourage younger generations to, get involved in art forms like Villupata. If Villupata were introduced in schools, what skills beyond storytelling could it teach the children? Ma'am, I think your screen is stuck. Sorry for that. Seems technical glitches are besting us today.
Yeah, I think I got
Yes.
disconnected or you connected. I don't know.
Yeah, no, ma'am. I think there was something with the network.
Okay,
So I was just reading out my last question.
right. So, what skills
If
does
yes,
Villupata teach beyond storytelling? I think the most important skill that they would learn is empathy. How to be, to see something so rooted from what was earlier, to accept and understand to what it has evolved. I think children would definitely feel that interest towards what these artists have been, and how much they would have gone through to uh, do that as something which is very close to their heart, or take it as a profession. I think it would give a great respect to the art itself. A storytelling art form like this, when it is taken to schools, would make children look into art forms, other art forms as well, and that is when they understand they develop a sense of respect towards art and artists. I think that is very important, because every time when you see, today's generation is so used to what, 30-second Instagram reels. I mean, they can't sit beyond 30 seconds and watch, and to see someone perform entire night, what amount of practice would have had to happen, what amount of thought process should have happened. I think number one, it teaches them to respect the art form and the artists, and number two, it also develops empathy, towards them, and help them understand that this is something that should not die, and above all, appreciate what our culture is, how rooted our Indian culture is with respect to all the arts and art forms, right? I think those three would be the top three that I would think about.
thank you very much, ma'am. That answers my question. And we have come to the end of today's session. I would also like to read out this message. A heartfelt presentation with the interdisciplinary connections of many genres of life, with sweetness of folklore. And there is a suggestion here for us. You can also bring the importance of Gamaka in Kannada for storytelling. Definitely, we will look
Absolutely.
into it, sir. Yes. So in the future,
Thank you.
we can have, yes. And there's also another message from Swagram Foundation. Dr. Geeta and the DH team, thank you so much for creating this wonderful session. thoroughly enjoyed. Indeed, ma'am. So, personally, I feel truly grateful to you, ma'am, for introducing me to the art form of Villupatta. Until today, I had
Thank
only heard
you.
of it in passing. But through your session, I could really feel its depth, beauty, and power. So, thank you for opening its window for me. It's a gift.
Thank you.
And I'll definitely, as you said, it has inspired me now to go and sit in one of these sessions and actually listen to the whole thing.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
thank you, ma'am. And coming to the end, yes, before, yes, ma'am, if you had something to add.
Yes. So I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Destination Heritage, Geeta ma'am, and Manali here, who has been an excellent host, helping me with all my technical difficulties and taking through this session very seamlessly. A big thanks to all the audience who were sitting and patiently listening to something that I wanted to share, which was very close to my heart. To see that Destination Heritage has created such a space is so humbling for me as an artist. So I request you all to please go and explore more about this art form, and maybe, God willing, we all will meet soon again. So thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. So I would like to once again, on behalf of everyone present, extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, Lavanya ji, for
Thank you.
introducing us to the vibrant and fascinating world of Villupatta. Your storytelling has not only brought alive the sounds of the bow, but also opened our eyes to an art form that carries with it centuries of tradition, devotion, and social meaning. Congratulations on such a wonderful and insightful presentation. And on behalf of myself and Dr. Geeta, thank you once again for gifting us this experience today. So, hoping
Thank
to
you.
see you soon again. And
Absolutely.
thanks to all the members of the audience. We will come back soon with something fascinating just like this, and hoping for the same enthusiasm. And also to all those audience members who are going to watch this later on, you can always post your questions or your appreciation in the comment section, and we will make sure that it reaches our resource person. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Manali.
Signing.
Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
everybody. Good night. Yes.
Good night. We are signing off here. Have a great weekend.